Hello, everybody. My name is Dratnos, and welcome to my Mythic Sarkareth guide slash strat explanation of our fight here. So, encounter is short. It's easier than some other end bosses have been. The damage check is quite lenient, but it's still pretty mechanically intensive. So, start of the fight, you have 3 of these bombs coming out, and what we do, and this is copied from like Echo and Liquid, you set up a gateway up there at the top, and then the 3 bombs, so you can get this bar weak aura if you have the Liquid Aberrus pack, this one that you see up at the top here, and everybody can get this weak aura pack. It's wago.io/liquid aberrus or something like that, and I recommend getting that weak aura pack, getting the Liquid Anchors pack, and then turning off all the lists in the Liquid Aberrus pack, because most of them you don't need, but the rest of them are pretty neat. And so basically, the bombs in phase 1 are always baited on the range. So we have our range out here at Skull, and they actually have to stay there until that last tick of that bar happens, because Sarkareth throws 3 bombs. The first one lands right as the third one gets thrown, so you can see all the ranged here taking a tick, but by getting out of here fast, they're all only going to take 1 tick, and we're going to spawn our first 3 bombs of the fight in this exact spot, which is really nice because on Mythic, those bombs leave behind an instant kill circle for 3 minutes when they expire. So getting the first ones hard stacked like that is really nice. After that, the boss does Oppressive Surge, or just Glittering Surge into Oppressing Howl. So this Oppressing Howl is the main mechanic of P1 that we now need to clear. And on Mythic, you need to clear it with exactly 1 Disintegrate and exactly 1 Searing Breath. The boss does 3 breaths and 4 disintegrates in the phase, and our plan is to clear most of us on the 2nd breath and the 4th disintegrate. But of course, some people are randomly going to clear on the earlier disintegrates by being targeted. And we have 3 healers clear on this 1st breath that just happened, because we want them to be able to stand out on the 2nd breath and just heal the group. There's also the tank mechanic here, where the boss is going to put a debuff. You can see it's got 13 seconds left on me here, and this will explode based on the damage it deals to me. So I'm using stuff like Celestial Brew, and later on in the fight, my defensive cooldowns on the second one that I get, to make it so that it does a little bit less damage to the raid. So here comes the 2nd breath, and we all stack up. We have AMZ. This is also health pot, so everybody's health potting out of this, because we want to use our health pots here so that we get them back when we want them in P3. So this is kind of the only time we can use our health pots. Now, of course, as a tank, I'm exempt from this. I don't have to health pot this, but everybody else does. And then we also use 4 Master Spells to remove the... There are 2 dots left by the breath. One is this permanent dot. Whenever the breath converts... Whenever you lose an Oppressing Howl to either the breath or the disintegrate, it'll convert it to a permanent dot. But there's also a temporary dot that you can see everybody getting here. So let's watch this again. The breath comes out, and everybody is going to get a temporary dot. And this is what we're using Master Spells for. If you have a Mistweaver, they can just slam Revival on this too. I press Diffuse Magic instantly, so that I'm not one of the people targeted by one of those Master Spells, and somebody else gets dispelled nice and early. And you can see Parse didn't get dispelled there and was actually in some danger, but everybody else was hit by the Master Spells, and so that helps make it a little bit less lethal, especially with only like AMZ health pot there. It's a pretty scary moment. We used to have more defensives there, but we moved them to later and moved our health pots there, and it was actually always looked a little bit scary. So here's now the 4th tank debuff of the fight. It's gone on our Paladin, who's bubble taunting right now as we're kind of moving towards where we want to end this phase. As soon as that bubble taunt expires, I'm going to taunt the boss. And this is now going to be the 4th Mass Disintegrate. This is the one that you need to soak if you haven't already cleared on a Mass Disintegrate already. So you can see our whole raid lines up here. There's also a bunch of swirlies spawning at this time, though, and you can see we send some immunities here. We send some defensives. We send some big healer cooldowns, Divine Hymn. And we are trying to just live through quite a lot of damage at the end of this phase. P1 is the most damage-intensive phase in this fight. We also Lust P1, because Lust has diminishing returns later in the fight because you get a big haste buff. So P1 ends, and we're all going to gateway up here to this world marker. When you go downstairs in this fight on Mythic, you also leave behind a puddle, and then whenever you drop a Void Bomb downstairs, you also leave behind one of these instant death puddles. So we drop them on purple and moon respectively there. Everybody gets a bomb at the start of the phase there, but normally when you go down, you're only dropping the once unless you're also carrying a bomb, which does happen later in this phase. P2 starts, and our positioning here is pretty precise. So first of all, I come up early, and I look at the time here, and I count down for everybody else when we're going to be coming up. I come up early because haste is the least good for me as a brewmaster. It doesn't matter that much to get all my stacks. And then I call the kick at about 1.5 or 1 on the cast. Breath is always going to be baited on a ranged player, so we have our range kind of tightly stacked right by the old gunk, and then our melee are baiting these Desolate Blossoms, which are used to remove the healing from the ads. On Mythic, there's a Mythic ad as well, but we have a kick order on it, but YOLO kicks also probably work on it. We decided to move to a kick order because we missed a few kicks, and that, I mean, we have redundant kicks on that, though. We have more than we need. So the other mechanic in this phase now is that the tank mechanic has a range on it. So our tanks are just always going to be running out and exploding out at range whenever they have this debuff expiring. So right now I have the mechanic. We're baiting our second breath pretty much by where the first breath was baited. And second set of ads is coming out. You can see we got kind of lucky there. They spawned in the old puddles, so they're already healing immune. And that makes them, especially the big ad, whenever that happens, is really nice. We actually force that on the third set. We don't as much on the second set. So now Snap, the other tank, has gotten the tank debuff. I use Black Ox statue here to AoE taunt and get the boss and the Mythic ad because our other tank is now running out and exploding out of the raid. And we're holding the boss inside one of these healing immune puddles so that the ads are going to spawn like this and all be healing immune from the start. And then the rest of the raid kind of has moved towards the middle of the room here. I'm downstairs so that I can dodge the Oblivion stacks that are coming out now from the next couple of dispels, and also so that I can pick up some of this haste and movement speed buff. So I'm waiting for the dispel to happen. I have 1 second left before I would die from being downstairs for too long. The dispel happens, I come up, and here comes a part that's often misunderstood about this fight. A lot of questions I saw about why you do this. So I get bopped here because whenever a player goes downstairs, everybody that's still upstairs gets a stack of a physical damage over time debuff. And you get 19 stacks of that if you are the only person up. And it's also a slow, so it's really nasty. So we use Bop here to prevent me from getting those stacks, and the rest of the raid is heading downstairs. The rest of the raid is heading downstairs for multiple reasons. One, the boss is not taking damage for a little while there. It's a good time to get some of that haste buff for value. And two, this infinite duress is now only going to target me, and then I can just stone form it off, which is what I do there. And then three, at the end of this Cosmic Ascension, the boss spawns a bunch of these fragments on people, but if I'm the only person upstairs, I'm the only eligible target, so we only spawn that one fragment up at the front of the room on triangle instead of a bunch all over the room, which is actually really important because those fragments each will pulse for extra damage whenever you have to hide behind them, so the fewer that are in the fight, the better. Now P3 has started, and you get these little ads. It's not possible to remove their healing, but they're just the little ads. They die very quickly. And in this phase, the tank debuff is a frontal, and you can't outrange it when it expires. So we actually had to innovate a different strat than either Echo or Liquid used to kill this, because we have less paladins than Liquid, and we have a different time. We don't want to use Echo's timing. We wanted to use the Liquid timing. So there are 6 tank slashes in P3, and I am taking 1, 2, 3, and 5, and the other tank is taking 4 and 6. The way it works is that tank slashes 1 and 2, the second will actually extend the first. So that's what I'm doing here, is I'm just getting Time Dilation, then Guardian Spirit, and using my own defensives to live through 2 stacks of the tank slash that's coming out now. Because you can see my old one has about 7 seconds left. It's it would explode in a few seconds, but here comes the next slash, and now I have a 2 stack instead. I intentionally took 1 swirly earlier, so that I'm now close enough that only 1 more swirly will send me downstairs. Swirlies give you 5 Oblivion stacks. You go downstairs at 10. So I took 1 earlier so that I would get to 5, and then as soon as I am ready to go downstairs, I go and take 1 and get to 10 and try and drop my puddle in a good spot. Now I need to wait for my debuff to explode and come back upstairs. Now this is a very important part if you're doing what we're doing, which I don't actually know if it's good because it is pretty sketchy. This is kind of global perfect. You have to come up within 1 global of your debuff expiring. Then you get to the boss here, and you need to cast 2 Keg Smashes and a Blackout Kick to make sure that you have enough shuffle duration that you're not about to get one shot. So Keg Smash, Blackout Kick, Keg Smash. Get in top of the group there. Then we're doing a Dispel. So 2 of those knockback Dispels go out right there. And what we do is we mass Dispel them and then all take a gateway so that we can get over to this area here, Skull, basically where we started the fight. And we're also doing one of these black hole group soaks. There was one of these at the start of the phase, and there's another one here, and we're soaking it with AMZ. And you can sacrifice these, but this one, it's nice to soak and not have to waste a res, not have to have anybody die. So the second black hole of the site, or of the pull, we mass dispel, gateway, stack up, soak the black hole. Now I stay here for another second because there's fragments about to come out because the ascension's about to happen, and we want those fragments to be stacked up as well because the fragments can get cleared by a later black hole and not pulse as much AoE damage. And the ascension's ended, so we have new ads. Now I need to taunt the boss, and you'll see I still have shuffle here. I still have a couple seconds of shuffle because I did those 3 globals on the boss right when I came up, which is good because the boss here has just autoed me for 50% of my health through stagger. If I didn't have shuffle there, I'm one-shot by that. So very important that you build up your shuffle, and you have to do that because you have to taunt basically instantly here if you want to take the 3rd slash of the fight, which I do. So I take that 3rd slash, and now I'm again looking to go downstairs. I need to take 2 swirlies because I'm only at 3 stacks of Oblivion here. So I'm going to take 1 swirly just kind of close to the boss, keep doing DPS, and now I'll go find another swirly a little bit farther away, drop my puddle in a little bit less of a bad space. And now the other tank frontal's gone out, so my co-tank is now taking that tank dot. But he needs to stay upstairs right now because the 3rd black hole has just gone out, and that one has been Blessing a Spell Warding. So the 3rd black hole happened upstairs, Blessing a Spell Warding was used on it, and the person took it to Skull and destroyed all of those extra astral formations that we created a little bit ago so that we're not going to have extra of them on the fight, and we still only have the 1 formation up on Triangle. Now you can see he's, in a little bit of pain. He has 10 seconds for his debuff to expire. He's going to head downstairs now and explode that tank debuff so that it doesn't hit the raid. And I'm holding the boss now for the next little bit, collecting 5 stacks of Oblivion, because again, I'm going to need to go downstairs again soon. Now here comes the hide. This is the mechanic that will pulse your raid for damage for each of the obelisks that's out, each of the formations. So you want as few of them as possible. If it's just 1, the damage is very negligible. If it's a lot, it's actually quite a bit of damage. Here comes our next black hole. This is the 4th of the fight. This one we sacrifice off to the side, and we use a battle res on. And that one is easy enough. And then here comes the Infinite Duress. So this one, there's only 1 Infinite Duress, so we just single dispel it very quickly rather than setting up a mass dispel. The person just runs off to the side, gets dispelled, and everybody else is getting knocked towards the top of the room from our current perspective, except for me, who's using Transcend to get back to right where I was before the knock came out. And that, our whole goal is to make sure there's not too many puddles over there, so that, because you get one shot if you walk into any of these puddles in the whole fight. So now the 5th tank frontals come out, and now here's the part where we are all going to be going downstairs. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for our circle markered melee, and you can see our whole raid is looking for this circle markered melee. Starting at like 6:34 in the fight, we are looking for a freshly spawned swirly. There one is. A swirly has just freshly spawned, and so we are all going to run on top of this, and we are just waiting up here. This thing's going to land on us, and every single person in the raid has now gone downstairs, except for our prop paladin. Our prop paladin is surviving those 19 stacks of the physical dot here using bubble, and that's the reason that they're upstairs. The Liquid strategy was to have the Brewmaster doing this, but Liquid had a 3rd paladin, so they could bop the Brewmaster again here, whereas we couldn't do that. So that's why we had to swap around our tanking order and have the other tank here, the prop paladin, be holding the boss using bubble and surviving upstairs during this time. And then the rest of us are just picking up our buffs, hanging out down here. Infinite Duress number 4 is about to come out. We don't want to go up until that happens as well, because we want only Snap to be the eligible target for that. Again, we're making sure that 19 players are downstairs. Snap is the only eligible one. And we actually have our other paladin going up, our holy paladin, goes upstairs with bubble, so he's not an eligible target, and then he dispels Snap so that knockback happens. So that dispel has happened upstairs now. And now the rest of us can head upstairs as well. You'll notice there's now 1 extra obelisk as well, because while that bubble was happening, it also caught a Cosmic Ascension from the boss, that big circle. And again, that spawns fragments, that spawns these astral formations at the end of it, which there was only 1 person upstairs. It was our tank, and he spawns it basically just in line with the old one, but kind of closer to the middle. And now we come upstairs. We can soak this black hole because we have no stacks of Oblivion. A bunch of mechanics in P3 give you Oblivion stacks, but we don't have any at this point. So everybody can get in and help soak this black hole and then get out. A little bit of now basically just it's potions, big haste buff from going downstairs, and you have until 7:30 to kill this boss. We kill the boss here at 7:17 with everybody alive. Very easy damage check with everybody alive. Very doable. without too much difficulty if it all works out. But there's a lot of ways that it can go wrong. The main things to look out for if you're on progression on this fight: P1 deaths, the bombs are going to kill you a lot. Those are going to claim a lot of lives. The gateway timing at the start, very precise. Make sure everybody's gating exactly when that third bomb gets thrown. So when that weak aura is showing. And then that's, I mean, most of the other mechanics of the fight, like P1 is the most damage intensive. Bomb management is important. One thing I didn't mention in P2 that is good to know about as well, that some has happened to our guild a couple times, and also I've seen happen to other guilds, is that the infinite duress, so you have players going downstairs because these void bombs are coming out, which I didn't talk about, but void bombs are spawning in P2 and P3, and we have assigned players. So here it's our two priests, for instance, have gone and picked up those bombs, gone and stood in this gunk, and have gone downstairs to have the bombs explode downstairs. But there are also other players going downstairs as well at different times, such as mages, DKs, mages bringing bombs downstairs, DK actually just going downstairs to get a haste buff for his cooldowns. And if you go downstairs right as you're getting the infinite duress buff, the infinite duress will just explode and kill the raid. So the most likely one for that to happen is infinite duress number 2. And you may just have this happen to you and be like, wait, what happened to us? So right now you can see like, oh, our mages are going downstairs, or our DKs downstairs. Infinite duress number 2 is about to come out. Our mages have just gone downstairs. If they haven't gone downstairs by the time this cast finishes, they can get targeted by that infinite duress knockback. And then they can be at like 9 stacks of Oblivion in one of these puddles, instantly go downstairs and explode on the raid. So anybody who's going downstairs near when an infinite duress cast happens needs to make sure that they are downstairs before the cast finishes, or else it is going to potentially wipe your raid. So that's something that happened to us a few times. The tank stuff, as I was saying, shuffle and threat on this fight are both big issues for everybody. Sarkareth resets threat when you're going upstairs and downstairs, and very quickly can become uncooperative when it comes to taunts and stuff. So I'm very careful to not use any damage cooldowns whenever I'm not actively tanking, and then I'd use them to help myself bolster my threat when I am trying to actually get threat. But shuffle in the later parts of this fight if you're a brewmaster as well. I actually have this weak aura here that I made that tells me when I don't have shuffle, when Sarkareth is below 50% health, because that is you are going to get one shot if Sarkareth successfully auto attacks you when you don't have shuffle, and because you're going downstairs and upstairs a lot, you're going to lose shuffle a lot as a brewmaster. So and keg smash gives you shuffle when it lands, not when you press it. So very fun thing. A lot of the reason that we use the Black Ox statue here is to make sure that I'm not going to get too owned, actually, when I don't have shuffle. So again, here's the start of P3, and this was the other spot where we use Black Ox statue for some profit. So there's that sequence of Infinite Duress, Stone Form, Transcend back, Run Forwards, Tiger's Lust myself, Black Ox statue on the ground. This statue is going to get the Null Glimmers here. So what I actually don't want to do here is heal myself, because I'll get threat over my statue from these Glimmers. Because I want them to be further out. I don't want them to run all the way towards me here. And then run forward, keg smash the Glimmers. The keg smash lands before Sarkareth gets to me and one-shots me with his auto attack. And then, we're chilling here. Now I also need to land Leg Sweep and Ring of Peace on these ads and also not lose threat on Sarkareth, which is also a challenge. So you're seeing Exploding Keg used there to generate a lot of threat. Definitely recommend doing that if you're a brewmaster. But yeah, this was actually really... There were a lot of sequences in P3 here as the brewmaster, especially with the way that we set it up with the tank frontals, where basically every single global had one button that would save you, and your 58 other brewmaster buttons would lead to you dying. So it's actually a pretty hard fight for me in particular, but definitely very fun actually at the end as well. A little unsatisfying to kill it with just so much extra damage on our first kill. That's something that isn't normal. I think the best end bosses are ones where you're like, you need to pull this good, and then the boss is like almost at enrage, and we had 15 seconds for the end there. But I think still is a pretty good fight, pretty fun. And yeah, hope this video helped. I hope that if you're progressing on Sarkareth, there is something in here that is useful for you if you're planning on at some point. I'm going to try and make videos this tier for Echo of Neltharion, Brashok, maybe Magmarax as well, if those are bosses that you'll be working on and interested in. now that we're done with progression. Got some time to do that. Also, I plan to make just a general Brewmaster guide, I think, as well. So, yeah, if you have any questions about Sarkareth, about how any of the things worked, put them in the comments down below, and I will try to answer them. Although, yeah, I'll try to answer them. You can also DM me or post on my Discord, those sorts of things, and I'll answer to the best of my abilities. Yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.